The dust has finally settled from the wild model wars of the past few years, and honestly, we're way past just staring at raw benchmark scores. Today, we're looking at pure, practical utility. How do these tools actually change the way you work, day in and day out?
Ultimately, it all comes down to the most important question of all. Where should you actually spend your hard-earned $20 a month? We're putting OpenAI's ChatGPT and Anthropic's Claude head-to-head to see where you should really be investing your time, your API budget, and your subscription fees. Okay, let's dive into this.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the 2026 AI landscape, compare the multi-tool versus the craftsman, test them in writing and coding, weigh up speed, features, and pricing, and finally help you choose your ideal AI.
All right, part 1, the 2026 AI landscape and the flagship fleets.
The evolution we've seen between 2024 and 2026 has been, frankly, absolutely staggering, and this brilliantly illustrates the shift we're talking about, moving away from generic one-size-fits-all models to highly specialized, high-performance systems. We're talking about massive context windows, highly refined mixture of experts' architectures, and these incredibly smart dynamic routing mechanisms. Basically, the system activates specific expert networks on the fly based on how complex your prompt is. We've literally reached a point where the underlying science has fundamentally transformed what it feels like to use these tools.
Because of that architecture, when you fire up the ChatGPT or Claude apps today, you aren't just talking to a single brain anymore, you're interacting with a highly optimized fleet. Over at OpenAI, their current flagship family is GPT 5.6. That includes the powerhouse Soul model, the mid-tier Terra, and the hyper-fast Luna. On the flip side, Anthropic's lineup brings their new Mythos-class flagship, Claude Fable 5, backed up by the heavy reasoning Opus 4.8 and the balanced Sonnet 5 So. These are the heavy-duty engines we're comparing today.
Moving on to part 2, multi-tool versus thoughtful craftsman, the core philosophies.
To really get a grip on how to use these models, we've got to toss the spec sheets out the window for a second. So, the crucial point is that the decision in 2026 is no longer just about which AI is smarter. It's all about how their fundamental philosophies fit into your actual workflow. Think of ChatGPT as your versatile multi-tool. It's this energetic, rapid-fire collaborator that just excels at high-volume tasks, quick iteration, and throwing a ton of variety at you in seconds. Claude, on the other hand, acts a lot more like a thoughtful craftsman, almost like a senior colleague. It might take a split second longer to chew on a problem, but it thinks deeply, it connects ideas rather than just giving you a list, and it heavily prioritizes nuance and precision.
Section 3, writing and content creation, volume versus depth.
Let's see how those distinct philosophies play out in the real world. 1 million. That is a massive number, right? Well, that's the exact size of the token context window for Claude's top models. Just to put that into perspective, that translates to roughly 750,000 words. That's about 2,000 pages of text that you can drop in all at once. And because it uses sparse attention mechanisms and hierarchical memory, Claude can somehow maintain a perfectly consistent voice, tone, and logical flow across these massive long-form pieces without ever losing the plot. What this actually means for your daily writing is a stark contrast in output. Claude naturally creates polished, finished pieces. The transitions are buttery smooth, it sounds remarkably human, and honestly, the drafts often require barely any editing before you hit publish. ChatGPT, though, that is your absolute go-to for volume and structure. If you need 10 wild variations of a marketing hook, rapid structural drafts, or if you want to use its Canvas tools to rapidly iterate on ideas, ChatGPT is completely unmatched. Basically, you use Claude to write the final book, and you use ChatGPT to brainstorm the chapters.
All right, Section 4, coding and technical tasks, patches versus production.
If you use AI for software development, you'll want to pay close attention here. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is a story from a tester who recently ran a notoriously slow, buggy data processing script through both models. They both found the exact same bugs, but their instincts? Totally different. ChatGPT immediately gave the fastest working fix. It patched the problem right up so the user could just keep moving. Claude, playing the role of the craftsman, completely rebuilt the script from the ground up. It actually added error handling, accounted for weird edge cases, and delivered robust, production-ready code you could hand straight to a senior engineer without wincing.
And the hard data backs up this anecdote perfectly. Just look at these benchmarks. On Swebench Verified, which is the gold standard for complex software engineering and real GitHub issue resolution, Claude Fable 5 posts an astonishing score of 95.
It absolutely dominates deep architectural work. But glance down at Terminal Bench 2. For agent tech, terminal-based command line interface tasks, where the AI is acting autonomously right in your environment, GPT 5.6 Sol takes a commanding lead with a 91.9. So the pattern holds: Claude for the deep, robust build, ChatGPT for the fast, agentic execution.
Section 5. Speed, Features, and Pricing. The Tiebreakers.
So what happens when it feels like a tie? Well, we look at the wider ecosystems, and ChatGPT is just an absolute juggernaut here. It boasts native image generation with DALL-E, advanced voice modes, video integration, deep research capabilities, and a mind-blowing 900 million monthly active users. It's the ultimate all-in-one digital workspace. Anthropic, by contrast, has intentionally kept Claude hyper-focused. With about 18.9 million monthly users, Claude doesn't mess around with native image or video generation. It is laser-focused on being the absolute best in the world at text, code, and tearing through massive document parsing.
Now, when we look at the API pricing, especially for you developers and heavy users out there, ChatGPT clearly wins the cost war, no contest. GPT 5.6 Sol is roughly half the price of Claude Fable 5, offering $5 per million input tokens compared to Claude's $10. And wait, if you have high-volume, lightweight tasks, OpenAI offers the GPT 5.6 Luna tier at a ridiculously cheap $0.20 per million input tokens. Claude simply doesn't have an equivalent ultra-cheap tier right now. If you want the most raw capability per dollar, OpenAI is for sure the clear choice.
Let's move to and see how this builds into choosing your AI assistant. The verdict.
So how do you actually apply all of this to your daily work? Well, here's your cheat sheet. You should hire ChatGPT's versatile multi-tool if your top priority is stretching your dollar as far as it can physically go. It's the absolute right pick if you rely on fast, agentic, terminal-based coding workflows. It is also the best choice if you're a generalist who just wants one single app to handle web searches, generate images, parse data, and talk back to you. And of course, it completely excels when you need rapid brainstorming and a high volume of rough drafts that you're happy to edit yourself.
On the flip side, you should hire Claude's thoughtful craftsman if you are a writer, researcher, or editor who desperately needs natural-sounding, finished, long-form content. It is the premier choice for developers who want code that comes back with error handling and tricky edge cases already figured out. It's honestly unmatched for dumping in massive legal contracts or entire code bases and asking for really deep analysis. Simply put, you choose Claude when getting it perfectly right on the first try matters a lot more to you than just getting it fast.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. The AI landscape in 2026 is no longer about one single model just crushing all the others. It's all about highly specialized strengths. I want you to take a hard look at your own daily workflow. If you are doing work that truly rewards depth, nuance, and precision, but you're constantly defaulting to a multi-tool optimized for speed and variety, are you really getting the most out of your AI? I challenge you to test them both out this week, side by side, on your hardest tasks, and see exactly which philosophy elevates your work. Thanks for joining this explainer.